Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're just going to have a quick look at the glossary, and the next will be all about the rubric. So really quickly, what you need to do is each time we go to a new term, and this is for all the other videos as well, each time I go onto a new slide, just give it a pause, write the main idea that I've got on the slide down, and then listen to me do all the talking about, whatever it is I'm going to talk about. So here we go. So context. Let's just move me out of the way. The circumstances that form the setting of an event. So basically, what is going on at the time something is made, which influences what goes into it, what type of language, what type of visuals, anything that goes into it at all. All right, so here's some synonyms. So circumstances, conditions, surroundings, factors, the state of affairs going on when something is produced. This is one of my favorite examples. All right. So up here is for a lot. Depends on the context. Dollars, no. Murders, yes. All right. It's almost that simple. If you know the context behind something, then you can understand more of the meaning. And that's why we do this unit, and that's why it's useful for you, in the long term in your life. All right. So social context is basically the physical and social setting of your life. So some of you will live in Orange, some of you will live in Dubbo, and some of you will have parents who have more money than other people's parents, and they will give that to you or not. This is the social context. It involves your schooling, anything that goes on sort of in your life within society. So it's all your daily life stuff. Historical context basically means what has gone on either a long time ago to shape a nation or a thinking about a country, or something that might be quite recent. So an example for us as Australians is that we have the Anzac legend, that this idea of mateship and looking after a buddy comes from that. Also, the invasion of Australia originally in the late 1700s, that becomes part of the context of the country that we live in. In terms of cultural context, this is things that go on in art, in literature. These days, I suppose it would be on media and social media, which influence things. So as unfortunate as it is, I can mention Kim Kardashian, and you would all know why or what I'm talking about. It's a strange thing, but she is part of the cultural context of our times. Alrighty, so totalitarian. Totalitarian is a government or a company that has complete control over a nation or a place, and people have no recourse. They have no say in any of their aspects of life. So examples for us, the old USSR under Stalin, and certainly you could mention the new US or the new Russia under Putin, North Korea. You could talk about fictional totalitarian states like Panem in the Hunger Games, that kind of thing. Capitalism, basically the economic and political system where things are controlled by private enterprise and not the government. So this would be Australia, the USA, that kind of thing. That's the system we live under. It's a democratic capitalist society. Communism. Is an idea where all of the property in the society is owned by the state, which is the community, and they're distributed due to need. There have been attempts at it in the past. It's never actually been realised. So Animal Farm, which you've studied, the USSR, China, Cuba at the moment, are all communist countries. A lovely idea. Human nature does seem to get in the way, and greed seems to ruin that. Dystopia/Utopia. Dystopia is a place where, things are basically horrible and life is terrible. So, in terms of examples that you may know of, Panem from the Hunger Games, The Society in Divergent, The Society in Matched, The Handmaid's Tale, The Maze Runner, the USA. The Utopia is the complete opposite. It is an idea where everybody is happy. Gap year students, 1950s white America, that kind of thing. it will never be realised, but it's a lovely idea to hope that we can get there. Science fiction. Basically, it's a novel based on the idea of future scientific technology or environmental changes that can cause, good things or bad things to happen. So things you may have heard of: The Martian, Blade Runner, Alien, Star Wars, that kind of thing. German Expressionism, that would come in as part of your cultural context. And basically it's a reaction to a lot of the conservative views in Germany and Europe before World War One. Everyone was happy to have their, head of state be a king or an emperor. And basically there's this idea that you want to change things up, make things different, distort things, make people really think about what's going on. The idea was to shock people with your art. Some examples here. Obviously up here, this is anti-World War One. Just some of this idea of this distortion of the art here. All right, the Weimar Republic. Basically, after World War One, the German government in the 1920s was called the Weimar Republic. Initially, in the early 1920s, huge financial problems, but in the latter 1920s, it was a real boom economically. Fascism. Back to the Weimar Republic. It was a democratically elected government. And lots of different types of factions involved in being voted into that government. It wasn't what we see today, where generally you have two parties, a slightly left party, a slightly right party, and you need to make up your mind on the day. There were lots and lots and lots of parties involved. Fascism, very right-wing. The idea was that it was very nationalist, and it was usually controlled by one man. So our examples: Hitler, Mussolini in Italy, Franco in Germany. Very aggressive, no opposition tolerated. They knew the right way forward. They were wrong. Modernism, basically the embrace within all artistic endeavours of new technology. So in the early 1900s, lights, cars, then aeroplanes, that kind of thing. This real embrace of technology within films and novels and things like that. Here's some lovely stuff here. You may have heard of some of those, hopefully so. Surrealism, we're almost there, kids. Artistic movement in the 1920s. A good example for you guys is when you're seeing a film where things sort of distort and become dreamlike. It's that sort of combination of dream and reality. Things look a little sort of out of kilter, a little bit wrong. Stalinism, basically Joseph Stalin in the 1920s up until into the 1950s really, controlled Russia as a totalitarian state. It became known as Stalinism. Didn't really work out very great. It was a pursuit of communism by force rather than education, and that's never going to work. And yeah, lots of starvation, and it's horrible. And that's the end of that. See ya.